Hey, hello YouTube, and this is Scott here, known as Bike Beer Run 1960, and I picked up another film camera because I'm a film geek. I grew up with film cameras, and I was film when the film wasn't cool. Now it's kind of like back again, but I want to show you. I picked up this camera the yesterday, and I'm figured out I had to do some repair work, hopefully minor repair work and reconditioning. But what we're going to work on is the Konica Auto S, and I'm showing you a page from my collector book called McKeon's Cameras. It's kind of like the Bible of camera collecting. But this camera was made from 63 to 65. It was one of the earliest cameras with a CDS meter. It says automatic or manual exposure. It has a fixed lens. It's not removable, but these cameras were known for their high quality lenses. See here, it also says it was also sold as Ward's. That was like Montgomery Ward company, and the Photo Quell Review Auto 500. Now that price is kind of relative because this book was published in 2006, before the kind of like the film mini renaissance. But when this camera was new, it was pretty well high quality. And just want to show you the cover of this. I've shown this in a previous video quite a while back, but this is kind of like the Bible of collectible cameras, and you can see how it says there it's 2005, 2006. So it's like 20 years old, but it is a great reference. Another great reference is if you pick up a vintage camera, and you want like a instruction manual, original instruction manual. There's a website set up by a guy named Mike Butkus, where he is, I guess you could say he's like printed, well, not printed, but he has all these manuals on his site that you can download and print on PDFs. He asks for like a modest donation of like $3. Um, I have to confess, I've gotten a lot of manuals from this site printed, but I haven't contributed yet. But one of these days, I'm going to give him a nice, generous donation. But to find him, his says www.butkus.org/chinon/. So if you're looking for a manual for a certain camera, I would recommend this site and this source. And I even printed one. I actually went to Goodwill today because I needed some more ring binders. So like $1 a piece. Although I think before, $1 is kind of like the price has gone up at Goodwill for old ring binders. But you can see I've put my little sticker on there. But the nice thing about printing these manuals, I can print them bigger than the original format. And actually, for fun, I was kind of surprised that this was like 68 pages here of this camera. I mean, there's a lot of information in this camera. It even has some funny little cartoons. I guess the publishers, or the Konica, has a sense of humor here with their instruction manuals there. But yeah, I like it because you can print them in a big format like this, PDF format, easy to read. And if I ever sell this camera, although I'm kind of doubting I will, but I would actually include this manual with the camera. So that's the manual and the source, my information. And I already have the camera kind of set up on my little operating table, my dining table. But then we'll go over there and I'll tell you what I've done so far to it. But before we do, I want to show you something another old camera that I have, that I'm currently shooting. I have a film in it right now, but this is another camera that I picked up a few years ago, and I reconditioned. I had to do the light seals. For a camera like this, I bought like a specific kit to do their light seals because it's kind of complicated. Pre-cut parts. I think it was like $12 for the kit, and I put like a UV meter or UV filter on it, and it uses a certain kind of battery adapter where you can use like a hearing aid battery, and I'm going to show you. It's the same as this camera, the camera that I'm going to be working on. So this is my patient on the operating table, and the kind of battery it used was an old PX, I think it was called PX13 mercury battery, and it was a certain dimension size that fits in the compartment. And here's the compartment. But they no longer make mercury batteries of like 1.35 volts, but you can buy these hearing aid batteries. They're like what would you call them? They're a 675. It says 1.45 volts, so anywhere from like 1.35 to 1.45 volt. But to fit the battery compartment in a conductive way, you can get these kind of little like machined. They're either copper or they're like other metal bowls. And this was like the dimensions of the old mercury PX13 size mercury battery. And it's just, you take your battery and you they have little what would you call it? There's like a little like tape over there that you peel off, and then when it's exposed to air, it starts to activate, I guess you could say. But you put these in that bowl, and that bowl is the same size that will fit the old battery compartment, and it'll give you the accurate voltage. Now the downside is the old mercury batteries had a much longer life. These have maybe a life of maybe like anywhere from, like maybe like 6 months tops. But the upside is that they're very inexpensive. They're like maybe like 20-25 cents a piece. You get them in these packs, you know, for like, I don't know, it's not expensive. You can see I'm not selling Walgreens, but that I have a Walgreens literally a stone's throw away from me. So, but these do give you that accurate voltage for accurate meter readings, okay? But the problem with this camera, I found out, I got it home and I tried batteries, and the battery wasn't working. Another thing I did too is the functions work, which is kind of good because this is a camera. I've done other research, and I have another camera. The successor to this is the Auto S2. This is the Auto S, and KONICA made some great cameras, but they had a reputation for like the shutter blades and the aperture blades would somehow stick sometimes because of the composition or the coating of the shutter blades and the aperture blades. But this one doesn't have that problem. I had another one. I had a S2 that I had bought, and I had partially disassembled the lens, the front element, and used lighter fluid to fix the shutter blades or whatever, and they did work. But then the aperture blades, which I could only access from the inside, apparently were stuck or whatever. So I decided to just redonate the camera, and I actually bought another S2 off the internet to substitute for that. But I found this one. This one I found just the other day at the Vincent de Paul thrift store for $27, and it looked in great condition. The first thing I did when I got it home is I like to, the cool thing about this one, it came with a nice case. And the case I like to recondition right away. It's like in great shape. I would like clean it, wipe it with like, clean the leather with, it's like damp cloth and like a little bit of a Kiwi Sal soap. And then after it's dry, I would like kind of like repaint it with some kind of liquid shoe polish like this. I only show the the brand, not selling the brand or whatever, but one thing I will mention though, if you do this, if this is in good shape with the stitching and everything, you don't want to get this too wet, because that stitching will like weaken and it'll like, it might disintegrate. I did that with another camera where I got it too saturated with water or something, and the thing just kind of like tore away. But this is like, that's what I did. I cleaned this and then I basically painted a new finish on here, and you can see how nice it looks. It looks almost like new. A little bit of the metal lettering here, the KONICA, that was like worn off or something. I mean, I'm not super fussy, but it would be kind of nice to make it look like brand new again. And another thing about these older leather cases, sometimes the hinge will be so delicate, it might be too fragile, but this one's still in good shape. So I've pretty much taken care of that. So that's how you would rejuvenate a case. But my main problem right now, besides this, when I put the battery in here with the adapter and everything, and it wasn't responding, I would put like my finger over here, and it's like it wasn't moving or whatever, no matter what speed setting I set. So I have to take care of that. And I looked at this. This was sort of in here, but it wasn't really making contact. And you can see basically this is from the old battery that had leaked, and that you get that kind of green leakage or whatever, and it kind of like likes to migrate along there. So basically it's just a basic circuit for the battery, and I'm pretty confident that if I can get that soldered onto there, that I will get a good connection, that the meter will work. CDS meters are actually powered by a battery. That's what activates the current, that activates the meter. If you work on older cameras that have selenium meters, the light actually creates the current. Selenium is like I think it's what they would call a radioactive isotope. So when light hits that, it creates a current. A lot of times those will kind of like be exhausted if they've been exposed to the light, if they haven't been like covered up or something. A lot of older cameras have like a cover or whatever that it covers it up until you're ready to use it. Another thing that I did here, you kind of see there was like this little thing. This is when I looked through the initially when I looked through the rangefinder. I would set it to infinity and look at something that was like 50 feet to infinity, and it wasn't like the viewfinder patch was not lining up. And I found this out through another YouTube video. I had this that little tiny little thing. Can you see that? I had to use a special tool to get that apart. I used this to get it apart. Although I tried something else and I ended up scratching that a little bit, but I'm going to be able to, I think, cover that up with a little black touch-up paint or something. But anyway, that's access to a little screw that apparently relines up the rangefinder travel or whatever, and I was able to do that with a little screwdriver like this, which is like kind of like the same kind of screwdriver, jeweler's screwdriver you use to take the back off. And you can see I have the screws there. There's one on each end, and then those two by the tripod socket. So that's where we're standing right now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take some white vinegar and make Q-tip or whatever, and maybe a little tool, and I want to try to get as much of this crap off of here, especially around here, because I'm going to attempt to clean that up enough and then try to solder that wire back where it's supposed to be, and then hoping that I'll have a good circuit. I will find out later. I can't really show this on on camera because I'm holding I'm holding my phone, my Android phone, with one hand and doing this. But that's kind of like the before. I'll do that. I'll clean it. Maybe I'll clean it and then I'll show you another shot of what it looks like. Okay, I cleaned the compartment and I'll show you the results. But before I do that, I want to show you some tools and things. This is a great book. I didn't really need it for this little project, but this is a used copy I ordered offline. It's camera maintenance and repair. It shows basic things. It also made me maybe order this thing. It's kind of like a beam wrench, I guess you could say. It has different tips. And I have used this on cameras. I've also used this on like quartz watches to replace the batteries on like quartz. I have a small watch collection, and I have a couple of watches that I hadn't really used for many years, and I was able to use this kind of wrench to take the back off and buy a what I guess is a relatively common size watch battery. It's like a 395 or whatever it's called. It's a small button battery, and I have a couple of watches now that I haven't used for almost decades that I'm wearing again, thanks to taking it there. Used to take it to like they'll have like these little watch repair kiosks, like a shopping mall, where they'll charge you to replace the battery. But I can do it myself thanks to that little tool. Okay, what happened? I cleaned the compartment and I cleaned those contacts the best I could, and then I took my soldering iron and I just tinned a little bit of solder. This is like the thin. I have three different kind of things of solder. This was like the thinnest, if you can see that. But I was able to solder on that little wire, and not the neatest job. Excuse me, not the neatest job, but maybe I can kind of show you now that how the thing works. If you can see the meter thing in there, that window, as I put it up to the light, and watch how it moves. See that? It's moving. So it is. So apparently is working. So apparently I fixed it. I have it. I have the film speed set at the highest speed, which is like 400 speed. But how this works is like you have two ranges on here, high and low. Maybe the low will be probably be much more responsive. Let's try it on a low setting for lower light. Maybe it'll be more responsive, but see if I can kind of get that. There we go. There we go. See that? It's moving. So I have every reason to believe that that's fixed. Now, I'm going to do another repair that is much more common to older cameras. And at first I thought this was good the way it was, but I looked at the material, the light seal material, and it has some padding there. It has a felt. If you can see that, focus on there. That looks all right. But the channels will probably I'll probably redo those because it looked like it has bare spots. But that's actually a nice, easy repair. What I do for that, to repair light seals like that, I use, and I think this is like wool or cotton thread. This is like I think they call it 3 gauge, but it works really. I've done several cameras, in fact more than several. I've done probably at least a dozen cameras where I've done the light seals where they had like the old foam kind of, it either kind of liquefies or it gets dry and it crumbles. But I'll just cut lengths to that, fit them in there. I'll try to dig out the old stuff as best I can, and then I'll cement in those channels, kind of like this kind of cement, which is kind of easy to use. I used to I lived right behind this shopping plaza that used to have this large craft store. But that closed a few years ago. But I got that at this store. Nice thing about this, this is like for those kind of applications. The tip, I'm not going to take the tip off, but it has like it says hypo because the tip is like, looks like a hypodermic needle that you can apply the cement in a really narrow space. And I've done this in another video. I call it the ultimate light seal tutorial, so I'm not going to show that on this video. I don't want this to run too long. And then maybe for a pad, I use this kind of felt material, or I even have like this sponge material for light seals. It depends. I use that more for like mirror bumpers on an SLR. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. For this camera, I also ordered a UV filter. It takes like a 49mm diameter UV filter, and I also ordered a strap. But yeah, I'm gonna maybe I'll do a final shot. I'll have it all together and show you how it works. So we'll see. Okay, here's my last shot of the interior of the camera. I did the light seals with the 3-gauge thread and the Prestafelt. As you can see, I did the Prestafelt there. If you can see that, and maybe you can see the, whoops, I'm going to try to shine this light, bicycle light in there, so you can see the thread cemented in there. And it helps to settle it by closing the back and compressing that thread. So hopefully it's a good light seal now. Next shot, I'm gonna quickly demonstrate the camera with this flash, just to show you how it works. Okay, I got the flash attached. Like, this has a cold shoe, and this is a great flash unit for older cameras. It's a Vivitar Auto 252. I have several of these with my cameras. Plugs into the PC port there. And I'll show you. I have lithium batteries in here too, which are nice. They work. You use, although back then it was more like alkalines, but just cock the shutter. And I'm not going to point the flash at the camera, it's just away, but there you go. You can hear it whining, recycling there. Wow, look at that already. So there you go. That's the KONICA Auto S, and it looks like it's ready for many more years of faithful, happy service. So I hope you got something out of this video, and just knows that you know, these older cameras, they were really well made. Sometimes if they don't seem to be working right, it's usually some minor thing. Maybe it just needs a little lubrication or something, or like I said, they left an old battery in there and it kind of like contaminated a little bit of the connections and stuff. So it was a relatively easy fix. Another thing I did, like I said, when I recalibrated the rangefinder with that little door, I put that back on there, and I did some little touching up with a paint marker. Not a perfect job, but you know, it doesn't look too bad. But like I said, I hope you got something out of this video, and I hope to see you here again real soon. Bye for now.